Her headlights caught something moving. A shape staggered across the empty street. At first she thought it was a shadow. Then it collapsed. The woman slammed the brakes, heart pounding. She stepped out, the cool night air sharp in her lungs. On the pavement lay a dog. His fur was matted with blood. His legs trembled, as if every step had been a battle. She knelt. The animal lifted his head, eyes glazed, then dropped it back down with sound that wasn't quite a whine. His body was carved with scars, old and new, as though someone had carved cruelty into his skin. "Hey, boy, it's okay," she whispered, though her own voice shook. She wrapped her arms around him. He was heavier than he looked, but she pulled him into the back seat of her car, hands slick with his blood. She turned the key. The engine roared. Tires squealed as she drove into the dark. In the rear-view mirror, she saw his chest rise and fall, slower, weaker. "Stay with me," she begged. But the sound of his breathing faltered. Would he even survive the ride? Before we continue with this story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell. Let us know in the comments where you are listening from. The clinic doors flew open. She burst through, hair tangled, arms aching from carrying him. The fluorescent lights inside stung her eyes. Behind the counter, a tired receptionist froze as she saw the woman's blood-streaked hands and the broken animal draped across them. "Help!" the woman gasped. A crash of motion. Nurses ran forward, taking the dog from her arms. A stretcher appeared as if from nowhere. She watched him wheel him down a hallway, his paws limp, his chest barely moving. The doors swung shut behind them. And then silence. Her body felt hollow, emptied by adrenaline. She pressed against the wall, forcing air into her lungs. Her hands shook, still sticky with his blood. Minutes passed like hours. The clock above the counter clicked loud enough to make her flinch. Finally, the receptionist approached with a clipboard. She asked questions, name, phone number, address, but the words blurred. The woman answered what she could, though she realized she didn't even know the dog's name. When the paperwork was taken away, she sat in a hard chair, staring at the hallway doors. She wanted to storm through them, to stand guard beside him, but she stayed still. Through the glass window of the treatment room, she caught flashes, bright surgical lights, masked faces bending low, hands pressing, stitching, working fast. And then she noticed it. The staff were whispering, not the casual murmurs of routine care, but hushed, deliberate words. She saw one nurse lean to another, eyes wide. The vet, a tall man with gray hair at his temples, paused mid-step when they showed him something. He frowned, then glanced toward the waiting room. Toward her, her stomach twisted. Why were they whispering like that? She stood before she realized it, pacing the floor, chewing her lip until she tasted blood. Every minute stretched thinner and thinner. The double doors swung open. The vet stepped out, peeling gloves from his hands. His face was grave, the kind of face she had seen only at funerals. She braced herself. "Is he?" "He's alive," the vet said softly. Relief hit her so hard her knees almost gave. But the way he said it, too carefully, as though alive was only a temporary condition, chilled her. The vet hesitated before speaking again. "Do you know this dog?" She blinked. "No. I found him in the road. He was hurt. I couldn't just leave him there." The vet studied her, as if weighing her truth. Finally he nodded, though his eyes didn't soften. "He's in critical condition. Multiple lacerations. Old scar tissue. Possible internal damage. We've stabilized him for now." Her voice broke. "But he's going to be okay?" The vet didn't answer right away. Instead, he motioned for her to follow him, down the hall, past quiet cages where other animals slept, past the antiseptic smell that clung to everything. In a small room, a monitor hummed. On the screen glowed an X-ray. At first, she only saw a blur of bones. Ribs fanned across the image, shadows of organs, the faint outline of his heart. But then her eyes caught on the strange shapes. Bright specks, tiny, unnatural fragments clustered near his chest and abdomen. She frowned. "What is that?" The vet's lips pressed into a thin line. Behind him, two nurses exchange a look. He tapped the glass screen. These aren't natural. They're foreign objects. Metal fragments. Possibly shrapnel. Possibly bullets. The room tilted. She gripped the edge of the table to steady herself. You're saying someone... The vet cut her off, voice low, controlled. This was an accident. He didn't just get hit by a car. Someone put this inside him. Her breath caught. Images flashed in her mind. The dog staggering the road, scars etched into his skin, the way he collapsed at her feet. Not random, not unlucky. Someone had done this to him on purpose. Her throat tightened. Who would do that? The vet looked away, as though he already knew but wouldn't say. Silence thickened. The hum of machines filled the room, steady but fragile, as though life itself hung by a thread. Finally, he turned back to her. His eyes were dark, unreadable. You need to see this, he said. The vet's words hung in the air. You need to see this. The woman stepped closer to the glowing X-ray. The bones were clear, the heart faint, the ribs like a fragile cage. And inside that cage, the fragments gleamed white against the dark. Her stomach nodded. Those are bullets. The vet nodded once. Fragments of them, lodged near the ribs. Too many to be from a single shot. This dog has been used, abused, shot more than once. Her chest tightened. She pressed a hand against her mouth, staring at the screen as if the more she looked, the more it would make sense. But it didn't. Nothing about it made sense. The vet lowered his voice, almost a whisper. This is no accident. Someone wanted him gone, and someone wanted it done violently. The woman shook her head, her throat dry. He was just lying in the road, like he was waiting for someone to see him, waiting for me. The vet studied her face, then the dog's chart. You said you don't know him? She swallowed hard. No, I've never seen him before tonight. The vet exchanged another glance with the nurse. They weren't just worried about the dog. They were worried about something else. Something bigger. What aren't you telling me? She asked, her voice sharp now. The vet sighed. His gloves squeaked as he folded his hands. The pattern of wounds. The scars. I've seen this before. Dogs used in fighting. Bait animals. Left to die when they can't perform anymore. The room tilted again. Her legs felt weak. She pictured the scars along the dog's body, the deep grooves that looked like old burns, healed but never healed. She had thought they were just accidents. Now she knew better. Someone had forced him to suffer. Again and again. Her voice cracked. You mean people did this to him? For money? The vet nodded grimly. For entertainment. For cruelty. Call it what you want. But this dog is a survivor. He shouldn't even be breathing. The woman turned to the window, blinking back tears. She wanted to scream, to break something, to ask the world why. Instead, she bit her lip until she tasted iron. The vet continued, calm but firm. We can operate. Remove what's left of the fragments. Treat the infections. But it will be long, painful, and expensive. The word hung heavy. Expensive. She didn't have money for this. Not really. Bills were already piling up at home. But the thought of leaving him there, of letting him slip away after everything he had endured, that was unthinkable. I'll find a way, she whispered, more to herself than to him. Just save him. The vet studied her, as if measuring her resolve. Then he nodded. We'll do everything we can. But you need to understand, dogs like this, they have enemies. If he survives, someone may come looking. She froze. His words hit her like a blow. Looking? For him? People don't like their secrets getting out. If he ran from them, if you found him, they may want him back. Or they may want him silenced. The woman's heart pounded in her ears. She saw again the dog in her headlights, stumbling, broken, but still moving forward. He hadn't given up, even when the world had tried to kill him. She thought of her own life, the quiet house she returned to every night, the silence she had grown used to after her husband left, the kind of silence that made you believe no one would ever need you again. But tonight, someone did. She looked the vet straight in the eyes. Then let them come. He's mine now. I won't let them take him. The vet's mouth tightened, half admiration, half warning. You're choosing a hard road. She nodded. So is he. For a long moment, neither spoke. The only sound was the steady beeping of a machine in the treatment room. Each beep, each rise and fall of his chest, was proof he was still fighting. She placed her palm against the glass. On the table inside, the dog's body lay still beneath a thin blanket. Tubes ran into his legs. A mask covered his muzzle. He looked fragile, helpless, but there was something in the way his chest rose, stubborn, defiant. She whispered more to herself than anyone, "You're not alone anymore." The vet touched the X-ray again, tapping one of the glowing shards. "We'll get them out, piece by piece. But I need you to be ready. This isn't just a rescue. This is a battle." Her hand curled into a fist. "Then we fight." The vet's eyes narrowed. He hesitated, then spoke the words she would remember for the rest of her life. "If we save him," he said quietly, "whoever did this might come looking." The dog came home 2 days later. He was stitched, bandaged, wrapped in quiet suffering. His eyes followed every sound, half awake, half lost. She carried him from the car in a borrowed sling, her arms burning with his weight, her heart pounding with something heavier, the weight of fear. Her house was small, a narrow porch, peeling paint, curtains she rarely opened. But inside, she had prepared a space. Blankets layered on the living room floor, a water bowl, a pillow that had once been her husband's, still kept in the closet, because she couldn't bring herself to throw it away. Now it belonged to the dog. "Here you go, boy," she whispered, lowering him gently. His body trembled as he sank into the blanket. His breathing rasped, but his eyes stayed open, watching her. She stroked his head. His fur was patchy and scarred, but beneath it she felt warmth. Life. For the first time in years, her house wasn't silent. It held the sound of another heartbeat. The next morning, whispers began. She felt them before she heard them. A neighbor across the street, trimming his hedges, slowed when he saw her leading the dog into the yard for a few minutes of sunlight. His eyes narrowed. Later, she caught him speaking to the woman next door, glancing in her direction. By afternoon, it spread. Faces at windows. Shakes of heads. One woman finally said it aloud as she passed with her stroller. "You shouldn't keep that kind of animal. It's dangerous." The rescuer bit her tongue, refusing to answer, but inside her chest burned. Dangerous. They didn't see the stitches, the 4 marks, the ribs that still showed no matter how much he ate. They didn't see the way he pressed his nose into her palm as if she were the only safe place in the world. She closed the curtains after that. Nights were hardest. The house creaked differently when you were listening for danger. Every pop of wood, every gust against the shutters sounded like footsteps. She tried to sleep on the couch near him, but her eyes kept opening, staring at the door. The dog woke easily, too, even half drugged for medication. His ears twitched at every sound. Once, at 2 a.m, his head snapped up, a low growl rumbled in his chest. She froze, heart hammering. Through the curtain, faint headlights drifted past. A truck, black, windows tinted. It rolled slow, too slow, down her street before turning the corner. Her throat went dry. The days blurred together. Caring for him became her life. Feeding, cleaning wounds, whispering encouragement into ears that had only ever heard cruelty. She found herself talking to him more than she expected. "You're safe now," she'd say, adjusting his bandages. Or softly, "I don't care what they say. You're not dangerous. You're hurt." Sometimes, when she felt her loneliness pressing too heavy, she told him truths she had never spoken aloud. How quiet the house became after her husband left. How she had convinced herself she didn't need anyone. How empty it felt to wake to silence every morning. The dog didn't move, but his eyes held hers. And that was enough. But the whispers didn't stop. One evening, she overheard 2 men outside while she brought the trash cans to the curb. Not right, keeping it stray like that. What if it attacked someone's kid? She's always been strange. Now she's got some fight dog living in her house. The words stung more than she wanted to admit. She almost shouted back, almost told them they had no idea what that animal had survived. But she stayed quiet, gripping the trash lid until her knuckles whitened. Let them talk. She knew the truth. On the 5th night, the truck returned. She saw it through the crack of her curtain. The same dark pickup. It slowed in front of her house this time, not passing through, stopping. Her heart climbed into her throat. The dog stirred on his blanket, ears pricking. A low, guttural growl rolled from his chest. Weak as he was, his instinct was clear. Protect. The truck idled for a moment. Then it rolled on, but she knew now. Someone was watching. The following night, she left a lamp on. She sat in the armchair, the dog sleeping at her feet. Her mind replayed the vet's words. If we save him, whoever did this might come looking. She thought she had been ready, brave enough to face whatever came. But now her courage shook. Because courage feels different in the dark, when you're alone, when your only ally is a wounded creature who should be resting, not guarding. The house was silent, except for the steady tick of the wall clock. Midnight passed. Then 1, then 2, and then she heard it. Footsteps. Soft, deliberate, on her porch. Her breath stopped. The dog's head rose. His lips curled back, teeth flashing in the dim light. Someone was outside her door. The footsteps stopped just beyond the door. The woman didn't move. Her breath came shallow, her ears straining for every sound. The dog's growl deepened, a low rumble that vibrated against the floorboards. Then came the knock. Slow, heavy, 3 times. Her pulse thundered in her ears. She forced her voice out. Hoarse. Who's there? Silence. Then a man's voice, rough, amused. You've got something of ours. Her stomach turned cold. Another voice joined, lower, meaner. Open the door. We won't ask twice. The dog tried to rise, his legs shaky, stitches pulling at his skin. Still, he pushed forward, planting himself between her and the door. His tail didn't wag. His body trembled with fury, not fear. She whispered, No, lie down, you're not ready. But he refused. He stood, broken but unbroken. She gripped the phone in her pocket. Her finger hovered over the vet's number, the only person who believed her. She dialed, the screen glowing faintly in her shaking hand. Outside, the men shifted. A boot scraped the porch. One muttered, This might cost us money. Don't make us come in for him. Her chest tightened. Dog fights. The vet had warned her. She didn't want to believe it, but now the truth stood outside her door, demanding their property back. He's not yours, she shouted, her voice cracking but firm. You left him to die. Laughter. Ugly, sharp. You think you can just take what's ours? Lady, you've got no idea who you're messing with. The dog barked then, a ragged, broken sound, but powerful enough to cut through the night. His body swayed, but he held his ground, his gaze locked on the door as if daring them to enter. The woman felt something stir inside her, not just fear, but defiance. This dog had been forced to fight for survival his whole life. Tonight, she would fight with him. Leave, she demanded. Silence again. Then the door rattled under a heavy kick. She jumped back, her heart slamming. The dog lurched forward, teeth bared, the growl erupting into a snarl that echoed through the small house. Another kick. The wood cracked. She screamed, I'm calling the police. But before the men could answer, red and blue lights spilled across her curtains. A siren cut through the night. The men cursed. She heard boots pounding off the porch, the slam of a truck door, tires screeching away. Moments later, the front yard flooded with flashlights. A firm knock followed, but this time it was different. Controlled, authoritative. Ma'am, police, you can open the door now. Her legs shook as she unlatched it. 2 officers stood framed in the glow of headlights. Behind them, the vet's car pulled up, his face pale but determined. She blinked in disbelief. You! I called them, the vet said quickly. I had a feeling they'd come looking. I couldn't let you face them alone. Her throat tightened. She wanted to thank him, but words failed. The officers swept through the yard, taking statements, radioing descriptions of the truck. The woman sat on the couch, the dog pressed against her legs, his body trembling but unyielding. The vet crouched beside him, checking stitches, murmuring softly, "You protected her, didn't you? Even now." The dog's eyes fluttered, exhausted but proud. When the officers finished, one of them returned. "We've dealt with these men before. Illegal fights. We'll track them down. But you should be careful, ma'am. People like that, they don't forget." She nodded, holding the dog tighter. "Neither do I." The police left soon after, their radios fading into the night. The vet stayed behind, gathering his bag, though his eyes never left the X-rays he had carried under his arm. Finally, when the house was quiet again, he sat across from her. His voice was gentle, but heavy with weight. "You need to understand," he said. "What you saw tonight, that was only part of it. The scars, the fragments, they tell a story of cruelty, yes. But the X-rays show something else too." She frowned, her arm still wrapped around the dog. "Something else." The vet tapped the folder he carried, the images hidden inside. "His body is still holding one last secret." The vet's words echoed through the room. "His body is still holding one last secret." He laid the X-rays flat on the table, under the light. The faint outline of the dog's ribs glowed white. Near the heart, a small, perfectly round shadow pressed against the bone. The woman stared. Her breath caught. "A bullet?" The vet nodded. "An old one. Scar tissue is built around it. It missed the heart by a fraction. He's been carrying it for years." She touched the image with trembling fingers, as if the film itself held his pain. "So, he survived this once before." "More than once," the vet said. "First whoever shot him, then the fights, and now the road. Any one of those should have ended him. But here he is." Her throat tightened. She looked down at the dog, curled weakly against her feet, his eyes half closed. He had lived through everything meant to destroy him. And still he breathed. For the first time, she felt not just fear for his survival, but awe. The weeks that followed were slow, grueling. Every day was a battle. She measured food carefully, coaxed him to drink when he turned his head away. She cleaned stitches, changed bandages, whispered encouragements he may or may not have understood. The dog's strength returned piece by piece. One day, he managed to stand without collapsing. Another day, he limped across the living room, tail lifting weakly behind him. Each victory was small, but to her, each felt enormous. She never once regretted choosing him. But the world outside wasn't so kind. The neighbors still whispered. Some avoided her altogether. Others muttered warnings when she passed. Dangerous, reckless, foolish. She ignored them, or tried to. Then came the night. She found a note tucked under her door. "Get rid of him before it's too late." Her hand shook as she read it, but when she looked at the dog, now lifting his head with more strength, eyes steady and watchful, she knew her answer. She tore the note into pieces and fed them to the trash. They had both survived worse. By spring, the change was undeniable. The scars still marked his body, but they no longer defined him. His fur grew thicker, covering the patches of skin. His frame filled out, ribs hidden beneath muscle. One morning, she opened the back door and watched him step into the yard on his own. The sun touched him for the first time without the shadow of pain. He sniffed the grass, ears perked, tail rising like a banner. And then, without warning, he ran. It wasn't graceful. His gait was uneven, his healed wound still stiff, but it was running all the same, pure, unbroken motion across the yard. Her chest ached as she watched. Joy spilled out in tears she didn't bother to hide. "Good boy," she whispered. "You're free now." He circled back to her, tongue lolling, eyes alight in a way she had never seen before. For the first time, he looked not like a victim, but like the dog he was meant to be. The neighbors noticed too. At first, their stares lingered. Then, slowly, they softened. They saw the way he leaned into her touch, the way he obeyed her gentle words. They saw he wasn't a monster. He was loyal, gentle, alive because she had chosen to fight for him. One afternoon, the same woman who had once called him dangerous stopped at the fence with her child. The boy reached out, hesitant. The dog approached, cautious but calm, and pressed his nose into the boy's hand. The woman gasped, then smiled. "He's beautiful." It was the first kind word she had heard in months. Word spread. The whispers changed tone. Admiration where there had been judgment. Respect where there had been scorn. But she didn't need their approval anymore. Her life was no longer empty, no longer defined by silence. It was full of paw steps on the floor, of breath against her side at night, of eyes that never left her when she left the room. She hadn't just saved him. He had saved her too. Months passed. The bullet near his heart remained. Too risky to remove, the vet had said, but it didn't matter. It had become part of him, a silent reminder of everything he had endured. Sometimes, when she traced a scar along his chest, she thought of that bullet still resting inside, not as a mark of violence, but as proof that he was unbreakable, proof that survival was possible, and maybe, in some way, proof that she was too, because when she found him on the road, she thought she was saving a dog. She hadn't known she was saving herself. One summer evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky in gold, she sat on the porch with him at her feet. The air was quiet, the kind of quiet that no longer felt empty but peaceful. He lifted his head at the sound of distant laughter, children playing down the street, a neighbor calling for supper. The world felt safe again. She reached down, brushing her fingers through his fur. "We made it," she whispered. He looked up at her, eyes steady, eyes that had seen cruelty and survived it, eyes that now held nothing but trust. And for the first time in years, she didn't feel alone. The woman who once lived in silence now had a protector, a companion, a reminder that even the deepest wounds can heal with time, patience, and love. The dog stretched out beside her, his body strong, his scars no longer a story of pain but survival. His chest rose and fell, steady and calm, carrying the secret bullet near his heart like a medal, not a mark of what had been done to him, but of everything he had overcome.